Yo, what is up guys? Joker here bringing you another video. This time going over my plans for the Merciless Gauntlet that starts later today. In case you're unaware, the Gauntlet is a solo self-found hardcore race event held by Zizrin. It has a bunch of additional modifiers on the game to make it increasingly more challenging and rippy. I do find the Gauntlet to be really fun, and I join it primarily every league, even as a non-solo, self-found, non-hardcore player, kind of as like a personal skill check to see how much I'm improving as a player. And this Gauntlet is going to be actually easier to do that with a new MTX that you can get that is exclusive to the Gauntlet. Once you kill Hillock, you're going to get a pair of gloves that essentially track your progress, and you can share in chat to kind of boast and show off how good you are at the game. As well as if you can complete the acts, you will get a free Dawn of the Hunt mystery box. And when you hit certain level thresholds, it will go ahead and allow you to be entered into a drawing where you can win a whole slew of additional rewards, right? We got some physical goods over here, and then we have the virtual goods that they're going to be giving out as well. So there's usually a decent prize pool on top of the fact that people are allowed to make bounties where essentially someone will be like, okay, I want to see someone kill Uber Elder with one item in the Gauntlet. There's $100 for that. If that's possible, congratulations, Ben. You get that free $100. But besides that, I just think it is a really fun event that every Path of Exile player should try out at least once. And because it does go ahead and help you with your knowledge and your skill progression in regular Path of Exile as well, because you have to work on building an offensive character that still does enough damage. You have to make sure that you understand boss mechanics, right? Stuff like that. So even if you're not going to win, because we kind of already know who's going to win, then you're still bound to have a good time because it's a good refresh, a good change of pace from the regular Path of Exile season because of all the additional modifiers. In addition, this league, they are using custom ascendancies. So we are going to be using the ascendancies from Legacy of Phoenicia, which in my opinion is just going to make the Gauntlet even funner. In case you don't know how to see the Phoenician skill tree on Path of Building, all you have to do is down here on the version, you're going to be on 3.26. Just click 3.26 alternate, and this will go ahead and show you all of the alternate ascendancies, right? So with that little introduction out of the way, why do we have no POBs to show you for my actual start? That's going to be because I still have no idea what I'm going to be playing. I don't want to bait you guys like like some of these videos. Oh, the best builds for the Gauntlet, because we don't even know the modifiers that are going to be on the Gauntlet layouts yet, right? So I can't really tell you, oh, this is going to be the best. What if there's modifiers that pseudo brick that type of build, that skill, that play style, right? So I'm just going to go over like generic information, a couple of things that I think would be potentially really good. Let's start off with a couple of the things that I think that you should not play, right? I guess I'll go around each ascendancy and like state classes that I think you probably won't have the best time with. So starting us off with the Ranger, my primary class, right? I think out of like the 30 plus characters I have, I'm pretty sure at least 20 of them are Rangers. The Whisperer, while incredibly strong in Phoenicia, I don't think you're going to have a good time if you try to do it in the Gauntlet, because mana stacking is going to be something that is much more endgame, right? Potentially, if you have another character that you're able to stack all the gear you need, this could be relatively strong, but otherwise, it's not going to be a good time. It's going to be hard to gear up, especially in solo self-found hardcore. Like, it's just going to be a pain in the ass, and it's going to be incredibly weak until you are able to stack a large amount of mana. With the other two ascendancies, you're much better off because they either give like a defensive layer or easy scaling, right? If we look at the daughter of Oshabi as an example, you're going to be able to scale your damage easily while stacking evasion, a defensive layer. So it's kind of a 2-for-1. The Oath of the Magi chestplate is going to go ahead and allow you to get a large amount of ES and evasion or armor evasion or whatever type of defenses you have on your chestplate. This is essentially going to double them, as well as it has the additional modifiers for increased life and increased LE res, right? Solo self-found 60% all res is pretty huge, and all you have to do is not put any gems in your helmet. With the 30% max life, don't put any gems in your gloves, essentially. So primarily with this, you would put everything in your weapon, right? And you'd be able to benefit from all of these modifiers. It also, with Illuminating Wisp did get buffed in 3.26, if I can remember right, so it's going to be stronger there. You do also grab free shrines, which are going to give you extra damage and extra survivability, so really, really good right there. If we go to the Wild Speaker, you have the Scourge of the Wilds, which is going to allow you to scale damage relatively easily as well, with the increases and reductions to minion damage also impact you at 150% of their value, right? You're able to go either a minion build with this pack mentality or other minions, or you're able to go ahead and just stack minion damage, right? Get a juicy minion cluster, get an insane amount of free damage from that. It also gives you Tailwind and charges shared with party members. We are going to have mercenaries. So if you get that shield that has charges or any kind of charge generation on your merc, then they're going to be able to give their charges to you, help you survive a little bit better there. We have Pact Instinct. That's not what that says. Primal Instinct. Yes, it does have 15% reduced amount of spell suppression. I'm sorry, suppressed spell damage. I know how to read. And even though that does knock you down from the 50 to 35, there's nodes on the tree, right? Like the innervate where it gives you a little bit more. But on top of that, you're going to be taking this essentially early on and before you're actually spell suppressed, right? Capped. This is going to be a node that you want to take like your second-ish lab. That way you can benefit from the spell suppression when you don't have all of the passive points or all of the gear to get that spell suppression. Even the reduced 35% is still going to be incredible helpful in helping you survive. And then it gives you free Aspect of the Cat, which once again, free frenzy and power charges, which is going to be free crit chance, free damage, free attack speed, right? So it's really, really good for not only defensive, but offensive. Not as good as the Oath of the Magi, but still way, way, way better than the Whisperer. Up next, we have the Duelist, and the only ascendancy that's even worth considering, in my opinion, is going to be the Paladin. Early on, you get a massive survivability jump with whichever aura you decide to take, right? A level 30 Grace, a level 30 Determination, or a level 30 Discipline. This is going to give you an insane amount of ES, armor, or evasion, help you survive there, as well as Anointed Champion gives you concentrated ground while you're stationary, so you'll get all the benefits of conk ground with the regen, the reduced effect of curse, right? And then you also have a little bit of a damage boost right here with the summon elemental relics. These are going to give you anger, wrath, and hatred, right? So you won't even need to run those. You can have this plus having your merc have like haste or something, and you're going to have a lot of free damage from auras without actually having to use any of those auras. You also have Bring the Battle. Enemies taunted by you have deal 20% less damage with hits and ailments is pretty good. Plus, they take 20% increased damage, once again, giving you more damage. If you're running in a group, it has some link nodes that you can use. Even if you're not running in a group, I guess, you can go ahead and link up your merc, try to get your merc to be the one to actually clear for you. But yeah, that's pretty much the duelist in a nutshell with the aristocrat and the gambler. This is essentially based around stat stacking, which is going to be a pain in the ass to do in a solo self found event. And then this is just literally 2 RNG, right? This is fun in a soft core event because of the gambling nature of it, but in a hardcore event, it's not nearly good enough to hold its own as in comparison to like the paladin. Up next, we have the Scion and the Scavenger, and this is really going to be hit or miss. This is really only going to be recommended if you have a lot more experience with the game, because you are going to be a lot weaker for a lot longer of a period of time, because your first ascendancy is really not going to give you much, but beyond that point, you are going to be able to grab some really strong things, right? You're able to grab like Cloak of Flame for the PDR, I'm sorry, not PDR, for the physical damage taken as fire, Void Battery for spell damage and maximum power charges, the Death Rush for adrenaline, right? There's some incredibly powerful nodes that you can grab with the Scavenger, but you are going to have to go into it with a game plan and understand that you are going to be weak until your second lab. Up next, we have the Marauder and the Ancestral Commander, which will probably be the most played ascendancy of the league, just because slams are so prevalent this league, as well as the Ancestral Commander has so many built-in defenses that it's just going to easily be the tankiest class for the minimal amount of effort, right? You have free max endurance charges, you have Born Under Fire, where nearby enemies convert 50% of their physical damage to fire. You put a Combs Binding on your merc, and that's 75% of physical damage converted to fire. Find a way to mitigate the other 25% with like a decent chunk of armor, and you really won't have to worry about physical damage at all. So you're going to be easily the tankiest for the minimal amount of effort, as well as there is other things on here. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Ancestral Defense, giving you essentially Defiance of Destiny for free. Like, this is easily the tankiest class for the minimal amount of investment. I think it's going to be the most played class this Gauntlet. The other 2 ascendancies, in my opinion, are nothing to write home about. The Antiquarian has his niche gimmicks, right? Where you have like the gain 50% to block from equipped shield instead of shield value. So essentially what this is doing for you is it's making it super easy for you to get block cap. Honestly, I don't think the Antiquarian has enough really going for it, like offensively wise, to make it really that viable. I mean, you will be able to be relatively tanky early on just by taking the Lion's Eye shield node, but the rest of the ascendancy is like, in my opinion, it just doesn't have enough going for it to really make it viable, especially over Ancestral Commander. And the Behemoth, I'm going to be surprised if we really see any of this, because the first ascendancy is going to be Rampager, and this disables your spells. In case you're unaware, auras are spells, so this means that you can't use any auras. I think you can use Heralds still, because I don't think Heralds are actually spells. No, Heralds are spells too. Never mind. So yeah, you're just going to be at a huge disadvantage. And because a lot of your survivability is usually going to come from your auras, this is just going to be a huge downside for really not that much of a benefit. I was looking at his other nodes, and once again, it's one of those things where it's like, if you have a game plan going into it, you might be able to pull something off, right? With like the mental conditioning and the power of purpose, 80% of max mana is converted to twice that much armor. I mean, that with still willed, maybe, but you won't be able to use auras to really scale the armor even further. So I don't, yeah, it's just a no from me. Up next, we have the Templar and the Architect of Chaos. It has the free dissolution here, make you a little bit tankier, but apart from that, in my opinion, it doesn't have a super ton going for it. I mean, potentially you could do some kind of cheese with Vol skills, but in a solo self-found hardcore event, I don't know how viable the Architect of Chaos will really actually be, because you'd probably need a lot of support that probably wouldn't be the easiest to actually achieve. The Puppeteer is going to be purely minion based, so whatever Gazzy says about it is how this is going to perform. I've seen some people saying like marionettes and animate weapon could be good. I mean, we have animate guardians that are really strong this league, so that with your merc plus other minions, it should be in a decent place, I'd assume. Once again, whatever Gazzy says is really going to be what's going on of if this is really viable or not. And then we have the Polytheist. And essentially, this has a bunch of cool niche nodes with some built in defenses, right? The Devout of Slotha, where you get free maximum attack damage and you kill enemies' life regen. Max cold res. So if you get like a, what is it? Melding, right? This pretty much solves a big chunk of that for you, where you just need a little bit of max res on the tree or in the flask, and you're able to go ahead and get your melding working just fine. Because even with the -5 melding, you're still going to be at 80 reses. Yeah, you'll still be at 80 reses, so you'll still be tankier. The Devouta Grokul, where you get life and regen, once again it disables your spells, so not that great. But then you have the Devout of Relicash, giving you minimum endurance, frenzy, and power charges, which is going to be really cool, and it can be a first ascendancy, so this would give you a lot of free damage, utility, survivability for your first ascendancy. And then Devouta Lunaris, you're shooting off additional projectiles, potentially. A Polytheist with, like, I don't know, some kind of spark build is the first thing that I can think of. And then Devout of Yugol, Hex Reflection, and are immune to reflected damage. You don't have to worry about reflected damage. You don't worry about hexes. Like, that's a huge defensive layer as well. Devout of Garukan, 100% increased evasion while moving, and you're immune to all of the grounds, plus you get 4% regen while moving and 100% mana regen while moving. So like, the Polytheist has a lot of good quality of life essentially just built into it. Up next, we have the Witch, and the only viable descendancy for the Witch is going to be the Bog Shaman, in my opinion. Because the Bog Shaman's downsides can be completely mitigated just by going CI, and because you're a witch, you're super close to CI anyways, right? You have things like Venom Drinker, which is going to poison you, but you're CI, so you're immune to chaos damage, so you just get free max res for literally nothing. And then Felfin, you get to reduce your enemy's resistance to 0. And the only thing to keep in mind with this is your chaos res is also 0, but you're going CI, so that doesn't matter. You can't use despair. You can't reduce the enemy res below 0. You still can definitely benefit from things like Wither, because that makes the enemy take increased chaos damage. So the downsides to this and this are completely mitigated just by going CI. You have Vile Impractions. Nearby enemies have Malediction. They take increased damage and they deal less damage. Good little quality of life there. Then you have not Sanguine Power. Let's see. Then you have Pandemic, right? As well as Toad Pact, where you're able to get a huge chunk of AoE, skill effect duration, projectile speed, and then Pandemic is going to be a huge damage over time multi. This is in conjunction for what my league starter might be. I might start I'm sorry, my Gauntlet starter might be. I might be Bog Shaman, and I think I'm going to go potentially Soul Rend, right? Because Soul Rend of Reaping leeches Energy Shield on its own anyways. So maybe, I don't know, Casman Channeling, Soul Rend, something. I don't know. I haven't planned it out, but they potentially could be super chill and super easy because the downsides are mitigated. And then last but not least, we have Shadow. And honestly, all three of the ascendancies for Shadow are probably fine, right? They're going to benefit from Shadow's placement. Being so close to a bunch of ES evasion as well, plus daggers and claws being super easy to scale, right? You have the Servant of Alakar, the Servant of Arakali, where you're able to get your first ascendancy, Malevolent Strands, which is going to give you level 15 Envy, which just is going to solve your damage if you're chaos based for like the entire campaign, right? You can also get Aspect of the Spider, which is going to hinder the enemies and have them take more damage. Enemies taking more damage is always a really good modifier. Stacking this with Wither, right? The enemies are just going to be taking a lot of extra chaos damage, essentially. You have the trigger spiders on kill, as well as neurotoxins to scale it essentially for free. So you have a lot of good nodes in the Servant of Arakali, and then just being able to benefit, like I said, from the Shadows positioning with all the ES evasion, spell suppression around there. With the Blind Prophet, you're going to be able to go ahead and get crit cap super easy. You get free half Nemes, you get free additional Proj, you get elusive, you get relentless restless, which is going to give you free explodey, right? And then formless and lightless, not as much. You'd have to build specifically into those, but the rest of the ascendancy tree, very solid. Once again, benefiting from Shadow's placement with all of the free defenses around it, and the claws and dagger nodes just being really strong and really easy to crit cap with elusive anyways. It's just going to be a really, really strong. Then we have the Surfcaster, which was essentially my second build in contention for what I'm going to be really starting. Once again, I was thinking of potentially something spark based, right? Because you get the free attack, cast, and move speed, plus the damage. You get free crit chance and evasion scaling just by overcapping your lightning and cold res. You have 100% of your lightning damage converted to cold, and your cold damage can shock, allowing you to get free shocks, but on top of it, allowing you to chill and freeze enemies, making them slow and frozen, and a frozen enemy cannot hit you, as well as a slowed enemy is going to really not be able to reach you. In addition to that, you have Glacial Wave, which is essentially going to go ahead and decrease the amount of damage the enemy deals, and increase the amount of damage that they take, right? Once again, like I just mentioned, having enemies take more increased damage is always a very valuable stat, so really good there. On top of the built-in defensive layers of being able to chill and freeze the entire screen, on top of the built-in fact that you're in Shadow and you're near all the suppression, ES, evasion nodes, you should be able to be relatively tanky, super easy, right? But that's pretty much it. My opinions on the ascendancies, what's worth taking, what's not worth taking. I hope this helps. I did not want to go over any build guides specifically because, like I mentioned, since we don't know the modifiers for the gauntlet, I don't know what's going to be the most viable. This is just my opinion on the ascendancies and what I think is going to be good and what I think is not going to be good. At the very least, don't choose any of like the 5 to 7 ascendancies that I said are probably going to be bad, because they're probably going to be bad. But yeah, well, that's pretty much it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with this and future content. And until next time, take care.